I think people just hold this grudge against Kristen Stewart for like basically doing the Twilight movies, and I think it's very undeserved. I thought she gave a great performance as Jean Seberg in this movie.
What's up, YouTube? We are Drive By Movies, and we are coming at you with another episode of
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaze.
And this week we are reviewing the new Amazon original Seberg, directed by Benedict Anders.
Woman has her secrets.
Seberg is about the real, true-life events of Jean Seberg, the famous actress who was investigated by Hoover's FBI as they tapped into her life and tried to disparage her because of her connection with the Black Panthers. So, what did you think of this movie? I guess actually the first thing I kind of want to get into before I ask you what you thought is this movie wasn't really on my radar that it was like even being made or like even coming out, and then it was just kind of out, and I was like, Seberg, I remember that actress. Like, I do love Breathless, so she's the lead actress in Breathless. She had like kind of a failed, like, not really failed, but just wasn't taking off as fast as she wanted to Hollywood career. She goes over to France, engages with some of these French filmmakers in their French New Wave movies, gets put in Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. It's a huge hit in France and around the world as it is in cinema. So it's like this big movie. She becomes a bigger star. She comes back to Hollywood, and that's kind of what everyone knows about like Jean Seberg. We don't really know this story that they really tackled in this movie, but I have this somewhat of an obsession with like unsolved mysteries. Like I love that TV show or just stuff that isn't solved, like murders or and so on and so forth. And her case kind of came up on this Reddit that I follow about unsolved mysteries, and it's like basically the idea that she did commit suicide, but it could be maybe the FBI killed her. But I think more likely it's just that the FBI kind of driven her to death. So I actually found out about this case and just her kind of weird end towards her life and like the mysterious events that led to her disappearance or her death. Essentially, right. only a month before this movie was released. So I found that weird. I was like, whoa, I just literally just read about this, something I didn't know anything about. I didn't know she was involved with the Black Panthers. This is the 1960s, so I'm not that, up to snuff with that kind of history. So I found it pretty interesting. I found like this wasn't really a story that I feel like many people know. And it was just kind of came out of left field, though. What'd you think?
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for when Amazon first bought the rights for it. I forgot what I was watching late last year on Amazon, but I remember seeing the trailer before then. It was saying coming soon to Amazon. That was my first time hearing about it, and I have seen Breathless. I'm not too familiar with Jean Seberg and her other work and stuff. And like most people, it sounds like though I wasn't familiar with how much time and how much she was doing to help the Black Panthers and stuff and help with the civil rights movement and everything. That's all a very interesting story and everything, but as a movie as a whole, though, it kind of fell flat for me. I thought that the subject matter, this movie kind of reminded me of The Fifth Estate, where the subject matter is super interesting. It can be taken into making a much better story, but I think it was just not the right director or something, or maybe not the best script, because it kind of fell flat, focusing more on the affairs and the scandals versus actually the genuine interest of seeing the creepiness that the FBI was doing. That we do see it, but I think Jack O'Connell is one of the best young actors of our time. If you haven't seen Startup or his episodes in Skins, he's fantastic, and he doesn't really say a whole lot in the movie until the final scene of the movie, and that's the best scene of the movie, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's a fine movie. It's not bad by any means. It's just you have a gold mine of great information that I had no idea about. But just focusing on stuff that when I started doing the research, the story was so interesting to where I did look up the real events and real stories, and a lot of it is over dramatized and stuff, especially the scenes with Zazie Beetz. Sorry if I pronounced her name wrong, but there wasn't anything kind of crazy drama like that where she shows up to the house with a gun and stuff.
Yeah.
And Like, yeah, so that kind of stuff's just disappointing. I just felt like just didn't like make the story as interesting as it could have been.
I think they had definitely attempted to like over dramatize it to make it more interesting, but I think that made it a little bit less interesting. Maybe going into more of like, I mean, we get into like the wiretapping. There's a lot of like elements of suspense, you know, added with them, like in her house while she's, you know, there's always in any wiretapping movie, there's always that scene where they're like, all right, they left the house. We got to fix the bugs because, you know, they fell out, or we got to install new wiretaps. And they're like, go in, and they're like, oh, I forgot my jacket. Let me go back home. Like, there's always that cliche wiretap scene. And I felt like this one was like better than most of those cliche moments, like in terms of just that scene alone. But in general, I feel like the movie, it definitely suffers from being, I guess, over dramatized. And then also it does suffer from just not that. I feel like this, like you said, the script is probably the biggest downfall of the movie. I don't think the direction is the issue, and I think a lot of people might point out to that Benedict Andrews might not be the right director. You might even be asking yourself, who is Benedict Andrews? He's a really respected theater director. If you look at his IMDb, like he has like 3 or 4 plays that were televised. Like I think it might be like a Fathom event thing where it was like televised, and they're at, you know, I think it's the Globe or one of those, you know, huge theaters in London. So I think he wasn't the wrong choice. I feel like he definitely just didn't have the script that I think he maybe wanted to work with.
Gotcha. I should have did the research. I just assumed that it was like a writer-director project, but now that I'm looking at the credits, I'm seeing that it was a separate writer and a director. And it does actually feel like a theater movie where it is all focused on the actors and their performances. And I'd say everyone in this film does a great job with what they have. I just wish there was more substance with what they were saying and to the story, because the facts are there. The great stuff, like there's a great story in here, but I just thought that the script was just misguided, focusing on things that like I could have saw like in just any kind of drama TV show. It seemed almost like fake-ish at times. Yeah. When this is such a true story that I would love to hear and like actually see the real events of what happened and the horrible things that were happening, and just like, yeah.
Well, when I had kind of like found out about this, it was really just it was only, you know, the unsolved mystery is like, did she commit suicide, or did, you know, the FBI kill her, or what is the case there? And they don't even go into that in the movie. I guess, to be honest, that's not really something that would have made the movie more interesting. So I'm kind of glad that they didn't. But it's just interesting that I saw this backstory that I didn't, you know, totally know. It all starts with this photograph she takes with Anthony Mackie's character. And I have to say, I did think most of the performances, I think all the performances were really good, but it really comes down to, like you said, substance. I wish some of these characters had a lot more meat, especially Jack O'Connell. You mentioned he's probably one of the best up-and-coming actors. I think, like, everyone knows, like, this guy's, he's going to be, like, the next... I mean, he's already like the next big thing. He's like in it's like him and your other boys, Scoot McNeary, are in like everything, dude. I'm watching on Netflix. There's this show Godless that came out in 2018. I think 2018 or 2017. I'm watching that, and they're both in it. So I was just like, all right, and this is 2 years ago, you know? So it's kind of interesting that they are like always, every project that they choose is like definitely something interesting. And I have to say the same for Kristen Stewart, because I thought, her and Robert Pattinson, you might be asking yourself, oh, come on, what are you talking about? Twilight. Okay, honestly, Twilight, it's whatever. We're not going to talk about it. I'm not going to get into that.
It's a bank check, yeah. But like, I don't judge Anthony Mackie for playing Falcon. Like, I think he's a great actor as well, too. Like, his scenes in, like, The Hurt Locker, fantastic actor. And I can't wait for his new movie coming out this year with Aaron Moorhead, I think his name is, the director of The Endless and Spring. Like, I know he's going to be the upcoming star of their next movie, and I can't wait for that. But, go on, Blaze. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you know that Anthony Mackie's a good actor, too. These actors, they're good actors, but the thing is, when they choose the projects that aren't going to really bring them home a huge bank check, kind of like this film, like, it's just probably, you know, it's just to Amazon, so it's just a flat rate, I'm assuming, like, that they took home. You know, there's no royalties there. So it is, like, anything that Kristen Stewart chooses is always going to be something I feel like interesting, or at least worth a watch. Like, this movie isn't something to write home about. It's not the best movie of the year. I'm probably not even going to remember it by the end of the year. But I do think that was at least an enjoyable watch, and I'm glad I picked, watching something like this over watching, a TV show that was 10 hours that was just, I'm not going to remember at the end of the year. Because at the end of the day, it's only an hour, 30 minutes where you watch a whole TV show, and if you can't be talking about at the end of the year, you just wasted, 6 other movie opportunities.
Right.
So it's kind of silly to think about, I guess, but I just felt like this movie, a lot of people are harping on how it's horrible, and I think people just hold this grudge against Kristen Stewart for basically doing the Twilight movies, and I think it's very undeserved. I thought she gave a great performance as Jean Seberg in this movie. I thought all the performances were good. I just wish that the script was really up to par with how many people that were involved that were interesting in this project, acting wise, and how much they were willing to give to the film.
Right, yeah. No, yeah, it sounds like I was slammering it. It's definitely not at all the worst movie or anything. It's just I expected more from it. It just felt more like a movie that would come out in October, November, be an Oscar kind of style movie, but just for me it just landed, it didn't hit the cylinders I was hoping it would and stuff. And yeah, it's by far not a bad movie whatsoever. It was just a disappointing watch, but it's an easy watch. It's only 90 minutes and there's some great performances in there. Just wish maybe we got a different script for this, because it is a very interesting story, and I actually hope that we see more from Seberg. And Kristen Stewart, like you said, nailed it. I do love her as an actress too. All the performances are there, and that is probably the main reason to watch this movie. If you're a fan of any of the actors in this movie, check it out for them at least. Yeah,
most definitely. I have to say, I would check the movie out, or if you don't want to invest the time in the movie, I wouldn't go on into adding to that hype train of just hating on everything that Kristen Stewart does. Because go watch Personal Shopper. Right. Honestly, go check out Personal Shopper, because if you're hating on her, that's kind of ridiculous. I think she's a great actress. It just takes the right project, and I don't think that all the stars really aligned on this one, but I think that there are some interesting performances that make this movie worth checking out.
Yeah, and the story alone, I'm actually glad that I know more about Seberg, and actually makes me want to recheck out Breathless again. And yeah, so I thought that was cool. I haven't seen Breathless since my freshman year of college or something.
But that's going to be it for this week's show. I think we both said, check it out if you're willing to take the plunge. If you would like to support the show, we would appreciate all of the support, and the easiest way to support the show is by going into the description box below and clicking the Amazon affiliate link.
Very easy ways to help us out too is just simply by giving this video a like. That helps us reach a wider audience, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to get all our latest updates.
That's it for this week, guys. Tune in next week for our brand new, fresh releases.